Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Haslett Board of Education meeting on February 24th, 2025 to order. If everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We will move on to the superintendent's report. Oh, thank you very much. Secretary Polverento is not able to be with us this evening, so I'm asking if anyone would like to volunteer this evening to take over as acting secretary for tonight's meeting.
I would like to volunteer to take over the position of secretary for tonight only.
All right. Duly noted. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, President Byrd. The District Imagine 2030 Strategic Planning Task Force met for the first time last Thursday. We hosted approximately 35 teachers, administrators, parents, and board members over at the middle school. Our agenda was focused on very foundational items as our consultant engaged us in some group dialogue and activities to help us think rather aspirationally about what we hope for students at Haslett Public Schools. Our next meeting is in March, when we'll synthesize further feedback that's provided through school level meetings for consideration by the board later that month. So community members are encouraged to keep an eye out for information on how to provide input in this process through our district and school newsletters. And Sonny and I have been talking about just making sure that we get the word out through different platforms in multiple ways. So if somebody wants to go to the website to find the information or look at a newsletter, that they have a stream of information as our schools have started scheduling these events, so that way everybody has an opportunity to provide voice in this process. The second announcement, I just want to recognize the success of the spring musical. Mary Poppins Jr. was a great success, and just congratulations to our students, staff, and crew for a successful event. On the agenda, we do have a student advisory committee presentation, but our student had a conflict, as students frequently do, with scheduling changes in the winter, and so we will have that individual come back later on in the year when athletics are not being rescheduled because of snow and ice days. So, but that's it.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to discussion items. And our first presentation this evening is regarding work-based learning. And I think we have Diane here. Okay.
Hi, is this working? Perfect, thank you. My name is Diane Littleton. I am a special education teacher at the high school. This is year 30 for me with Haslett and year 22 at the high school. Thank you. Also, watching at home, this is a much bigger deal than when you're just standing right up here and doing it. Okay, so I am here to talk to you tonight about a little hidden gem that is a part of the special education program at Haslett High School, and it is our work-based learning program. So my intention tonight is to build some awareness about what is available for our certificate of completion students in grades 9 through 12. And just kind of to show off a little bit, quite honestly. This is a big deal. This is a great program, but I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the individual that first started this program, and some of you will be familiar with the name, former teacher Stacy Porritt, longtime colleague at the high school, and she started this program back in 2012. So it's been around for a good long time, but a lot of people aren't really sure what we do, so we're going to talk about that. So this is our program, and this is what it is. What is work-based learning? It is a program that is designed for our special ed students, as I stated, that have an IEP, that are certificate of completion students. So they will not earn a diploma the same way that kids moving through the Michigan merit curriculum do. They still have a great high school experience, and this is a big part of their day. Usually during the second semester of their sophomore year, they start off with work-based learning at the high school. So they're in-house, what we refer to as in-house. And then hopefully by the time they start their junior and senior years, they go out into the community. And this is my second year with the program. So really happy that we've been able to grow it and evolve it. They used to have 2 placements a year, and now we're up to 3. So they get to rotate through and have some more experiences in the community. Every day, these are little pictures of what's going on in my room. They have their workstation where they come in after lunch. They have a sink. They're available to, if you notice those brightly colored boxes, those are their personal needs boxes. There's toothbrush, toothpaste, there's a comb, there's a mirror, so they can give themselves a little look-see and make sure that they are ready to go with a clean, sharp performance to be on the job. And then they have timesheets. That's what that second photo is with all of the purple folders. They're responsible for basically clocking in and clocking out, and they are writing down the tasks that they complete at work each day. So they clock in at the start, get themselves ready, get on the bus, go to work, come home, come back to school, and clock out and tell us what they did that day. These are some of the community partners that we've worked with over the years. And so I don't need to read through all of them, but you can see we're currently at the Capellini Salon, which is right in the Culver's location, the Cancun, the little strip mall over by Cancun Mexican Grill. Culver's, we're at Gildan Woods Child Care Center up on Marsh Road, Graff Chevrolet. Kelly's Consignments we're taking a break from. We're back at Brookdale, and we're at the Bath location for Meyer this year, this second rotation. We have one more rotation that will start after spring break. And as you will notice, we are always looking for new partnerships, so if anyone is aware, please let me know. These are our job coaches, and these are our paraprofessionals at the high school, and they are critical to the success of our program. They travel out with the kids to the job sites, so they always have an adult with them on site to help kind of be that first line of defense if they have questions, concerns, run into some issues at work, if they can't get to actual staff at their locations. We also have a job coach that stays at the high school for those sophomore kids that are only working for 1 hour, 1 block of time. When the kids go out into the community, it's a 2-hour block of time. And now this is the fun part. These are some photos of our kids in action at their sites. And a little description about what they do. So at Graff Chevrolet, oh gosh, we've been partnering with them for probably close to 10 years. So in the service station, they don't get to always use the power washer, but they do get to detail the cars both inside and out and get them ready for the lot and for new customers when they are picking up their cars. At Kelly's Consignments, they do a variety of tasks, from some light cleaning to keeping the store looking great, working on inventory, getting things out onto the floor, and again, just making certain that the showroom is ready to go. They do some special projects as well, just as needed, like they have put together a whole new shelving unit that could display some of the items that were available at Kelly's. At Brookdale, they also do some light cleaning, but they also work on cleaning off or clearing tables after the lunch period and bringing the residents some of their dessert sometimes. They also deliver mail, flyers. They don't go into the rooms, of course, but there are little mailboxes on the outside of each resident's door with respect to activities that are going on, whether it's they've had craft sales, they have special parties around the holidays, and they have staff appreciation, and so the students will go ahead and deliver mail to them. At both locations, but we are at the Bath location this semester, the kids will check in right at the service station, and they get their name tags. So Meyer is really great about helping the kids feel the part and look the part. They get name tags. And then they go ahead and they'll reshelve items that got returned. They also will consolidate, so if you've ever been through the seasonal portion of Meijer, whether it's Valentine's Day or another holiday, they are working on you not seeing those empty, like cardboard, like, oh, all of the candy is gone. They pull it all out, move it all together, and again, help keep everything looking great and fresh and ready to go. Some other examples, we just learned a lot when we learned how to navigate the store. So if they don't know where an item is, they have learned how to use the scanner and how to read the map and find out which location it's in. And if you look at that picture on the top right, this will be life-changing for you, because that small little brown indicator that says B18, those are like the hidden aisle markers that you didn't know about. Like, you know where the big food items are, right? You can always find those, but those are gonna change your life. And so next time you go and you don't know where something is and you scan it, now you're gonna be able to find it. Cappellini Salon is one of our newer placements. We started with them last spring. And so they house one student 3 days a week. And within that time that they're there, they work on, once again, a little bit of light cleaning, folding the towels, replacing them so that the staff is always on the ready, doing the laundry so they learn how to change everything over. And they can also greet guests and make them aware that their next client is available and ready. Gildan Woods is it's one of our independent placements, along with the Graf Chevrolet, meaning we start students off with a job coach, and once they get the hang of it, those placements are comfortable with the job coaches stepping aside. We do send, either I go out or a job coach will go out and rotate and check in on those independent settings, so the students always have another adult that is still checking in on them and supervising and just seeing how it's going. Culver's is another newer placement for us. We started there also last spring, after spring break, and our kiddos that are there work on running the orders. So they run them out to the dining room and they run them out to the cars. And if you'll notice, most everyone in these photos has a nice little student volunteer worker vest on. And that is in part because what we learned is that when our kids are out in public, as an example at Meijer, they were seen working and an individual came up and asked them, hey, can you help me find this? And the student said, I don't know where that is. And so then we learned, gosh, they are wearing the name tag. They think they're an actual worker. So we needed to get them some additional signage to not only make the community aware, but also to build in some of that tolerance for an answer of, I don't know, or I can't help you with that. Then we come back to Haslett High School, and this is where our students first start. So we have 3 students currently this semester that are in-house. We rotate these students through the main office, the media center, our performing arts center, and our care closet, along with all of these other, other tasks that we are able to attend to. Yeah. Yes. These are some of our friends who were in-house, and this is an example of them in the top right corner working in the media center, tidying up the Chromebooks that are available for everyone. Student in the center knocking on the door because he's got a delivery. And then on the top left, students are holding on to their clipboards, which have a detailed list of tasks that they need to achieve each time that they are at work. Our kids recycle in-house every Friday, so they come around during 6th hour. The teachers put out the recycling bins, and the kids work between what is a returnable and what is a recyclable, whether that's a bottle or a can or cardboard. And you can see throughout the pictures that, like, there's some pizza boxes and some, usually when there's some class celebrations, the students work on the differences throughout recycling. Any returnables that are collected then go with the students out on Mondays to Meijer, and the money that's received from the returnables goes back to the program. So it helps us buy our laundry detergent, it helps us with class celebrations or special activities with respect to everyday math, everyday cooking, special projects like that. Finally, our care closet. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. I was like, there's a video. Our care closet is something that has really evolved and developed. It used to be a part of our school social worker's office. And what we were finding at the high school is, for whatever reason, we have kids coming to us saying, this happened in class and I need a pair of sweatpants, or I need new ABCD. I forgot deodorant at home. So we have a care closet, and we have it available for all of our students, not just our special education students. And so now this is a new and improved. I don't know if it's gonna work. That's gonna be a bummer. Well, it's a little video that I took with my phone, and I gave you the perimeter view. If you can kind of sort of see, we've got everything from shoes, winter coats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, jeans, sweatpants. There used to be the little
Use the mouse.
arrow.
Yeah, there you go. No?
No, bummer. Anywho, it's great, and it's something that's available to all of our students, and all of our teachers have access to it so they can help a student out whenever they need it. We really rely on our staff members to help keep the care closet stocked, as well as our community members. Every once in a while, our principal will put it into her newsletter that we're in need of feminine products, or we're in need of deodorants, shampoos, body washes. So whatever we need, we've been fortunate that we've been able to get it on the behalf of our community members, which are awesome. And I think that's pretty much it, other than I do have a little something for all of you for coming tonight. And it's a brochure that you could pass out to, actually, how about I just do this? You take one and pass it around. And then I also have a free scoop of Culver's ice cream. Take one, pass it around. Take one of those scoops and make sure you go to Culver's between the hours of 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. and have one of our students run your order out to them, and get yourself a free little scoop. Support the Culver's, see our kids in action, and have a great day. Questions?
So I had a couple questions. One is, do they get compensated, or is it volunteer only?
Nope, these are volunteer hours. I will say that at Culver's, what we discovered is some community members will tip the kids. And sometimes it's $1, sometimes it's $3. And our job coaches are really good about saying, so-and-so got a $5 tip today. So then we always email home and make sure the parents are aware. One day, one of our students came home with $17. So I emailed his mom and I said, I told him to put that in a very safe place, so here's where it is to look for it.
And then I had another question too. Thank you for taking them out in the community and getting them exploring this type of opportunity. I know there's so many different ways you can teach a child. Can you explain like some of the ways that you maybe problem solve through a difficult challenge that a child had on a job site?
Sure. We've been pretty fortunate. Probably the most challenging was the incident at Meyer, where the student kind of panicked because they didn't know the answer, and they realized that, like, they think I work here, and I don't really work here. I'm volunteering. And so our job coach did step in and say, we actually don't know. We're a part of Haslett High School, so we're here on a volunteer basis, but let's see if we can either do it together or help get an actual Meyer employee that is a little more familiar with the store. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say thank you, because I love stuff like this, so thank you for
You're
doing
welcome.
it. And I just had a couple questions. I'm not sure if I missed it or not. How many students would you say participate, and then how are the students? Is it all of your students, or are they chosen based on ability and skills?
Mm-hmm.
And everything?
With regard to placements? Yeah, so a little bit of that. Right now, we have 12 students in the program. 3 of those students are in-house, and so as I said, they're here for the 1 hour a day, so they stay at the building, they don't travel. The other 9 students do go out. Depending on the students' level, their attendance, because attendance is super important. So if we have a student that struggles with attendance, we don't tend to put them at an independent setting, or if they're going to be the only one. We always want to help our employers get ahead. We don't want to ever put them behind by taking a student on. So if we have a student that we know struggles with attendance, then we will probably buddy them up with someone who has a little more consistent attendance to school. And then when we look at our independent placements, we are looking at those students that are here all the time, the ones that take direction very well or can recorrect on the fly, and are a little more, possibly a little more motivated. I don't know if you know this, but not everybody loves going to work. It's a real struggle for some, but these kids are excited to go because it is a nice break in their day. They get a break from kind of being with the same kids all the time, and they get to leave the building and they get exposure to different people and different ways of being instructed. So it's great exposure for them to see other adults and not just their teachers every day.
Yeah, and then do any of the community partners, do the kids actually get a job when they are finished with school?
Yes,
sometimes?
you may have quickly read the brochure. Yes, we often have had students get offered jobs, especially at Culver's. We had 2 students that were our flagship students last year, and one of them was a senior and was offered a position. And then we just had in the first rotation a junior who was offered to come back this summer. Yeah. Anything else?
Any other members? Diane, I just want to echo Tracy. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming this evening.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening. It's a great program. I'm really proud of it. I should also say part of the reason that it is as successful as it is because of the support of my principal, Mrs. Butcher, and our director of special ed last year, Diane Newman. When I took that program over, it was a little bit less organized than what it is right now, through no fault of anyone. The program changed hands over the time of COVID, and it was tough to get it back on a consistent basis. And both of those ladies were instrumental in getting me the support that I needed with other paraprofessional staff to have the job coaches. Mrs. Butcher put it out in her newsletter. We need help from the community, and we got it, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
And speaking of Miss Butcher, I think she is our next presenter, asynchronous learning.
Yeah, those are scary words, Mr. Bird. We like to call it
I know,
virtual learning.
I didn't know if I should say it or not.
Okay.
I might have screwed it up, but
So here's the deal: is I don't have a fun and exciting presentation like Diane Littleton does. I have a request for the board to approve one singular virtual learning day to help us get through our Michigan Merit exams in 9th grade and 10th grade PSAT. I did this last year, if you were on the board last year. So historically, this has not been allowed until last year. So in years prior, I had to be the certified teacher that took all the 12th graders on a field trip. Because the way the people accounting, we had to have instruction that day. You could no longer do job coaching or college visits on that day. They really tightened in the rules after COVID. And then last year, the School Aid Act was amended in the 21F section, that's the online schooling section of the law. And they allowed for us to have up to 15 days, I need 1 day, that's it, of virtual instruction for multiple reasons. It could be to get through state testing, it could get through PD, and it could be like emergency weather plans and other events that we hope never happen again, okay? So I'm asking for Tuesday, April 8th, to have a virtual learning day for the 9th, 10th, and 12th graders. The 11th graders will actually be at school taking the SAT. And the reason is for state mandated testing. So they do have some requirements under that section of the law that you have to kind of meet, assurances, right? And so one of them is they need to know like what the day is going to look like. So there will be an assignment posted for every class in the Google Classrooms. These assignments are meant to be kind of standalone, like you don't need instruction, right? To do like something, maybe a review from the day before, new content to read about, something like that, a video to watch and some review questions to think about, something that's going to further our learning. And in order to be counted present, you have to have whatever that assignment was turned in for your 6 classes by 2:30 that day. Okay. So here's the guaranteed access. So this is the legalese part of it, right? Families and students will be sent a notification through my weekly newsletter, and also we'll send separate blasts from the counseling department about this virtual learning day. The teachers will give a survey in their first hour classes to say who needs access or a device. Last year we did this. I only lent out, I think, maybe 4 or 5. And also our attendance was like the best attendance we've ever had. I was a little nervous, but kids showed up. They did what they needed to do. If a student needs access to the internet, we will actually have 2 teachers on staff that cannot help us administer the MME because they have an 11th grade student, and it's against the rules. So they will run a virtual learning classroom like on site in our building, and also they'll help seniors catch up on their credit recovery so we make it to the finish line all at the same time. So that's how they'll get guaranteed access, the kids. If a student needs special education accommodations or English language learner accommodations, most of those accommodations can now be provided through the technology, right? Like there's screen readers and things like that. But if they need extra support, the teachers do have to be available at some point during the day through their Google Meet. So every teacher, we're going to be taking turns proctoring that SAT test, so they'll have breaks in their day. And once the testing is over, there's also a good chunk of time for them to get on there and host a Google Meet, and they'll post it in their Google Classrooms. So those are the guaranteed access. I already went through the communication plan, daily announcements. Also, the teachers talk about it because we're moving schedules around. It's not just a surprise to the kids. It's historically, the MME's been historically this week for as long as I can remember. The one thing that I did want to kind of explain is like, why do we need a single virtual learning day for the SAT? So the SAT requires so many proctors per student. It's online, and additionally, then we also have students with accommodations. And those accommodation rooms can only have up to 15 students in them apiece, right? So the more students you have with accommodations through IEPs or 504s, the more staff members you're using up. And honestly, we do not have the staff to hold school otherwise. So we've tried it in many different versions, many different ways. And this year we have it spread over 3 days. That Tuesday will be the SAT. That's the one where it's really all hands on deck, and we'll take almost the entire staff, minus the 2 people that can't do it, right, to give that test. And then Wednesday and Thursday of that week, in the mornings, we'll give either the PSAT 9 and 10, and the other parts of the MME, the M-STEP and the work keys, and then students will come to school in the afternoon for a late start. So those days we don't need virtual days for those. We only need it for that Tuesday because the SAT requires so many proctors. And it's intense training. Every year we think, like, can we just get a refresher? No. The College Board makes us do a whole nother probably 2-hour training to make sure we know how to administer it on the computer. And then also there's additional, like, making sure you know the ins and outs of the accommodations that students get for those rooms as well. So it's a really big undertaking. That's it. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I never know. These things are always on, right?
Yeah, yours.
Okay, good. I'll get it eventually. So essentially, if I'm understanding what you're saying, this virtual day will open up space so that you can meet the requirements for the administration of the test.
Correct. Yes.
And the kids will be home unless they need a place to go for technology, in which case, I see it all there, the
Yep.
busing and everything is still on point.
Yep, all of that will still be provided because we still got to bring the 11th graders to school that day, right? And then we have students at the Wilson Talent Center, 12th grade students at the Wilson Talent Center whose schedules won't be affected, and we'll still provide busing for them back and forth as well.
Yeah, that seems like a smart way to go. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have we ever had, you mentioned those students that might need a Chromebook. Ever any problems, tech problems with those students while they're at home with those Chromebooks? And is there assistance available to them if they, in the middle of the day and something goes wrong?
Yeah,
And
so-
Mr. Casson's on call, so he can,
Yeah, so last year we lent probably 5 or 6 out maybe. We didn't have any tech problems because most of the time the kids are more tech savvy than the adults on those Chromebooks. So, but yes, Mr. Casson and his crew is always willing and ready to work for us, and we will have backups in the office. They could come and just switch them out, right? Or if something terrible happens and they can't get on, it'll be okay. Their teachers will work with them. It's not like they're going to get a punitive grade 0 or something like that, as long as they communicate with us that they had a tech problem.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other member have any questions?
Okay, thank
Seeing
you.
none? Thank you very much, appreciate it. Now, just for my information, this will be something we vote on at a future meeting?
Yeah, this will be on the agenda for the next meeting. yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, Vice President Collins. Second reading of proposed new and revised board policies. This looks like the 3000 series, and then we have the next, well, I'll just let you get through the 3000s, and then we'll,
One at a time. Thank you. This is the second reading of the 3000 series of the Troon School Board policy. These policies cover operations, finance, and property. Many of the policies are required by law, and we don't have many options when it comes to the policies themselves. Another reminder, although we're doing first, second readings, as we adopt the policies, they take effect August 1st, 2025, and it's part of the transition from Neola policies to Troon policies. You guys have all had time to review as well in between readings and so on. So I will go through the shorter version this time, but still enough information. Policy 3101 covers insurance. And please stop me if I go too fast. Policy 3102 is about smoking, tobacco products, drugs, and alcohol. These are prohibited at any district-related event. Policy 3103 reflects copyright law and compliance. Policy 3104 is about school cameras, which we do have. Policy 3105 is about visitors and volunteers and the procedures they must follow in order to be in our buildings. Policy 3106 covers booster clubs, PTOs, and support groups and lists general rules that these groups need to follow. Policy 3107 is the use of detection dogs. Policy 3108 is about service animals. Policy 3109 covers curricular animals. Policy 3110 is about our data breach response. Policy 3111 is our drone policy. Policy 3112 says that the board will adopt a calendar each school year. Policy 3113 is about the district's use, storage, and transmission of Social Security numbers. Policy 3114 covers litigations and lawsuits against the district. Policy 3115, A through H, is the Title IX policy. We just adopted the Title IX policy this fall. We went through this last time, that we are doing this again because of some federal law changes. And then also, you will hear it again in the 2000s as a second reading because of the numbering system. That's the only thing, it's the same policy. Policy 3116 is about district technology and our acceptable use policies. Policy 3117 covers intellectual property that the district controls. Policy 3118 is our non-discrimination covenant in contracts that the district is included in. Policy 3119 is about allowing teachers to do pilot programs for the district. Policy 3120 is about Head Start COVID-19 mitigation. Policy 3201 describes our financial accounting. Policy 3201A is the financial management of federal awards and is required by the federal government and law. Policy 3202 describes how the board must annually adopt a budget. Policy 3203 describes how we do bank deposits under state law. Policy 3204 is about the investment of funds. Policy 3205 is about disbursements. That's the one we put the limits on petty cash at each of the buildings at $100. Policy 3206 allows us to levy property taxes according to the law. Policy 3207 describes our school activities fund and scholarship funds. Policy 3208 is about surety bonds. This is intentionally left blank in your packet because it's not a practice we use or one that we plan to use in the future. Policy 3209 is about debit and credit cards and says that it can only be used for official district business. Policy 3210 allows the district to borrow money according to state law. Policy 3211 is about post-issuance tax compliance. Policy 3212 is about post-issuance disclosure compliance. Policy 3213 is about electronic transactions of funds. Policy 3301 describes our purchasing and procurement procedures. Policy 3301A is about purchasing and procurement and reflects federal law. Policy 3302 is about the acquisition of real property. Policy 3303 covers gifts and donations to the district. Policy 3304 is about the use of district property. Policy 3305 is about the sale or lease of district property. Policy 3306 is about construction bidding and the process for competitive bidding according to the law. Policy 3307 is about the policies and procedures for construction and district building improvements. Policy 3308 is about the distribution of printed materials and advertising in school. Policy 3309 says that we will allow the Michigan State Police to inspect our buses and that our buses must pass inspection. Policy 3401 allows us to cancel, delay, or have an early dismissal at school and activities to protect the health, safety, and welfare of everyone. Policy 3402 describes our emergency and safety plans and reports as required by law. Policy 3403 requires that all accidents be reported to the building principal. Policy 3404 is about communicable diseases, and this is in accordance with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Policy 3405 is about bloodborne pathogens and how the district deals with exposure and training for staff. Policy 3406 is about our integrated pest management program. Policy 3407 is about asbestos management. Policy 3408 covers firearms and weapons. We took the optional language that defines exactly what a weapon is, and there are no exceptions in the policy. Policy 3409 is intentionally left blank by Troon. That is not by us. It's just a placeholder, so numbering system has nothing to do with us. Policy 3410 is about opioid antagonists, otherwise known as Narcan. Policy 3501A through F3 is about the Freedom of Information Act and includes all of the forms used for FOIA requests. And Policy 3502 is about our record retention, and we're required to retain records for certain amounts of time depending on, according to state and federal law. So there's your second reading of the 3000s.
Thank you, Vice President Collins, appreciate that. Any members have any questions regarding the second reading of the 3000s? Seeing none, I will allow you to go on to the second reading for the 2000s.
Okay. This is the one we have to do again because it's just a number change to reflect the change in the law. So we have policy 2260, which is non-discrimination, anti-harassment, and non-retaliation. Policy 2260A are definitions for the 2660 series. Policy 2260B is the designation of coordinators. Policy 2260C, supportive measures. Policy 2260D, informal resolution. Policy 2260E, grievance procedures and remedies. Policy 2260F, complaint dismissal and appeals. Policy 2260G was intentionally left blank. Policy 2260H, training requirements and policy notice. Is that the last one? That's the last one?
According to my notes, yeah.
Okay. No, I'm good. Hope you're all good. Thanks.
Any questions for Vice President Collins regarding the second reading of the 2000 policies?
And we will vote on adoption at our next meeting.
All right. We will now move on to board reports, and since there were no committee meetings since we last met, we just have under board reports items from board members. So does any board member have anything they'd like to say? Oh, no, that's under next for the correspondence.
This is where we can just.
You can say whatever the heck you want. Yeah.
So
Well, you know.
you asked for it.
Yeah.
No, I just want to echo what Patrick was saying earlier. I had the distinct pleasure to attend the middle school musical. It's ridiculous how good this community is at that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't want to discredit or credit the wrong person, but is that Mrs. Vala? Is that? Wow. She's amazing. I mean, we've seen it at the high school with choir and Mr. Callahan, and I'm trying to make sure I shout out to everyone, but what an amazing, those kids are talented. I mean, they're talented. We went to support, none of my kids are in it, and to be honest, I'm like, there might be some out of tune, oh, that's really cute, kind of stuff. No, it's good. It's really good, worth your time, and just a shout out to that whole thing, and Haslett's still getting it done, and I'm very proud of that, so thank you.
Any other members with anything this evening? All right, thank you very much. Now we move on to correspondence and comments from the public. Acting Secretary, do we have any correspondence from the public?
I've been waiting all night for this. Yes, we've had 3 communications. We had one from Wilkshire talking about the launch night that they had, the fundraiser. And we had a second communication from Ralia talking about their STEAM night. And then we had a third communication email from the community.
All right, thank you very much, Trustee Clark, appreciate it. And now we move on to comments from the public. As we all know, this is an opportunity for members of the community to come up and discuss topics of their choosing. There's a 5-minute time limit. And if there are questions that come about within the comments from the public, either Superintendent Malley, Associate Superintendent Lindbergh, or myself will respond. Are there any comments from the public this evening?
No, it didn't go off. I didn't set it yet. Oh, look, Connie has one too, so we're good. My name is Erin Rooney. I'm a teacher at Haslett High School.
I'm Stephanie Shandell. I'm a teacher at the Haslett Middle School.
And we're just here to share some good news that we've been doing, the teachers in Haslett have been doing in the district since you last met.
So at Wilkshire, we have Claire Kaiser, a new district music teacher, hosted parents during their scheduled music classes for an informant where parents watched and participated in some activities of music class. And she also recorded and shared that with parents who couldn't participate. They also are learning about accomplished Black Americans by participating in a banner project that they started last year and they have been adding to this year. Classes volunteered to research and create banners for different individuals, and this was posted along with a photo of the person. Classes are encouraged to go and display and read about each of these individuals, and the banners will be up through March. And also, February is Fitness Month, so Taylor Wilson Santos, our PE teacher, has planned fitness activities for home and for school. She always makes active learning fun. At Murphy, an art teacher, Miss Amanda Kahn, held Murphy Elementary's annual art night for second and third graders earlier this month. Students created display boards that featured 3 different projects from the year. When students and families arrived, they could grab compliment cards to fill out for all the different artists that they viewed. They also celebrated STEAM Night, which you guys have mentioned. Oh, sorry, Rallia. Rallia celebrated STEAM Night on Thursday. And this year, the students' projects focused on science, technology, engineering, art, or math concepts of interest. It's evident when you walked in the hallways that students have been inspired to showcase their interest and curiosities. Kudos to Carino Trufant for helping students connect to all parts of STEAM. At middle school, we had the musical, which you guys mentioned, but just so you know, there were 40 set and crew members and 51 cast members, so it's all done by students. There are some adults, obviously, that are advisors, like Samara Valla and Jennifer Brooks and Matt Callahan, but the students do the sound, they make the sets, they do all of that. And it's self-funded, so they get all of that stuff done through the ticket sales, which they had 2 sold-out nights, so yay. We also have Amanda Ribicki, our middle school counselor, who does mindful mornings every Monday and Friday. Students, with parents' permission, can come and spend a few minutes in the morning learning some stress management skills that are also transferable to the classrooms or other places that they experience stress. It's about 10 minutes, and they do things like stretching, yoga, deep breathing exercises, guided visualization, body scans, coloring, using fidgets, and then reading through short stories as well. So they don't do all of that in 10 minutes. They just do different things each time to give them some different stress relievers. And at the high school, 50 students and staff members went on a Haslett ski trip to Cabernet on Friday, Valentine's Day. It's nice of the staff members to give up their Valentine's Day. Many were new skiers. We also have the Sustainability Club, took first place in the Michigan Kid Win Challenge, which is it's an organization that empowers educators and students to explore and engage challenges of clean-powered energy, and Dr. Peterson is the one that ran that. The choir festival was last week, and our choirs continue to earn top marks in all the areas. Jazz Night, which was also put on by the band program, continues to be cross-district event that students look forward to each year, thanks to Mr. Callahan, Ms. Valla, Mr. Larson, and Mrs. Carpenter. And our BSU, led by DeJoko and Fletcher, and our football programs, led by Mr. Thomas, or Coach Thomas, both attended leadership conferences this past week, emphasizing leadership now and beyond high school. The Key Club also attended a service leadership conference over the weekend with Mrs. Cox.
And just again, thank you very much for all of your support. A lot of these are passion projects by our teachers working with their students, and they really appreciate all the support and encouragement that they are given to continue to do this. So we hope to continue to bring this to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anybody else wish to speak this evening?
All right. My name is Sean Hammond, Buttonwood Drive, and I really don't want to be here tonight. But I feel compelled to come speak following public comments at previous board meetings and regarding news coverage of things happening in this school district. I'm here to talk about how important diversity, equity, and inclusion is for our community. And I say diversity, equity, and inclusion intentionally, because so many people want to hide behind the term DEI and not really grapple with what it means to say you want to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We moved to Haslett because we saw in this school a place where our daughter could have experiences my wife and I did not have growing up, including being around people who come from different backgrounds and have different cultures, and who, through being intentional about diversity, equity, and inclusion, can all have an education that makes them into kind and thoughtful citizens as adults. Because that's what diversity, equity, and inclusion is actually about, removing institutional barriers that we may not have even known existed before we looked into it. It's not about artificially lifting anyone up. It's about rethinking why rooms and groups look and think the way they do. It's about making sure you aren't excluding someone just because they don't have the exact right profile you wanted. It's about making sure those who learn differently have the same opportunities to learn. It's about making sure those with different experiences and cultures see themselves as part of this community. So I'm here to support our community and our schools in continuing diversity and equity and inclusion plans to help continue to identify and dismantle these institutional barriers to everyone having a chance at success. I'm here because I want to see our community and schools support the next generation, no matter who they are or what their life experience has been. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Does anyone else wish to speak this evening?
Hello, Terry Geyersbach, former teacher, mother of a handicapped child in a wheelchair, and a Haslett resident. After listening to others speak at the last 2 board meetings, I began to wonder where they were getting their information. They speak as though nothing good can come about for our marginalized students unless we have DEI. They seem to feel that DEI is the only way forward for helping these students. Who is giving out this misinformation? Who is telling parents that DEI is the one and only reason for progress, or no student being left out, or cultural integration? Have parents been informed about the No Child Left Behind Act from 2001? This act required schools and districts to focus their attention on the academic achievement of traditionally underserved groups of children, such as low-income students, students with disabilities, and students of major racial and ethnic subgroups. Plus the Title I money for elementary and education back from 1965, plus Title II money for math, science, and engineering programs. Back in 1975 came the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, and then the Individuals with Disabilities Act of 1991, and of course the National Council on Disabilities, and another one called Race to the Top Initiative. All of these were supposed to improve the performance of the marginalized students. Keep in mind, these programs focused heavily on the annual yearly progress of each student, which led to our standardized testing procedures that we have today. And because the No Child Left Behind Act pressured each school to guarantee that each student meets the minimum rates and requirements, there were no incentives to improve student achievement beyond the bare minimum. The NCLB Act did not require any programs for the gifted, talented, or other high-performing students. Federal funding of gifted education decreased by 1/3 over the law's first 5 years. You can see where all this is going. I remember this happening back when I was teaching middle school. In fact, Michigan's state funding for the gifted and talented programs was cut by 90% in the first year after this act became law. In April of 2015, a new act replaced this one, the No Child Left Behind Act. It's called Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, which allows students more flexibility and states more flexibility in regarding their own standardized testing. This act offered alternative assessments, also focusing on problems with bullying, along with pre-existing inequities, highlighting the importance of inclusion and culturally diverse leadership when it comes to overall student achievement. ESSA also makes sure that improvement plans are constructed to fit the needs of the disadvantaged student and those in minority groups. This act came about when they realized that No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top were draining creative approaches from our classrooms, consuming too much instructional time, and creating undue stress for educators and students. In conclusion, I hope parents realize the powers they already have. If there's a need that's not being met, they can research, get organized with the backing of Every Student Succeeds Act, and make their needs known. Even if DEI disappears soon, parents will still have many existing laws to support what they need for their child in the school setting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anybody else wish to speak this evening?
Hello, Jeff Kestner, Haslett resident. I want to begin by congratulating the Haslett High School freshman boys basketball team. Led by Coach John McCloskey, the team went 20-2, notched a first-place finish, and seemed to have a lot of fun doing it. The skill development, teamwork, and sportsmanship exhibited by this team is a great example of what Haslett sports is all about. Thank you for a great season. It was a blast watching you guys play. At the February 12th board meeting, a policy to reduce public comment by 40% was passed. Those voting in favor of passage were board members Byrd, Collins, Wierzinski, Polverento, and Clark. The two patriots who value free speech and voted against passage were board members Fritz and Stoliker. There's a fact sheet that is present at every board meeting. Number 1 says, quote, "Our Board of Education is a 7-member legislative body elected by residents to be advocates for our children and act in the best interest of our local public schools and community." Tomorrow morning, I'll be sending the 5 board members who voted no on Policy 2504 an email with a question. Why was it in the best interest of our schools and community to reduce public comment / free speech by 40%? I'll read the 5 responses, or lack thereof, at the March 10th meeting. Haslett resident Mrs. Kim shared her opinions of DEI at the February 10th meeting. I found them to be very insightful and worth revisiting, so here we go. Having moved here from South Korea 30 years ago, she never felt that her identity prevented her from participating in American society. DEI today creates new divisions and reverse discrimination instead of fostering inclusion, she said. For example, she recently spoke with some parents about a growing issue in school, the presence of students who identify as flurries. Students find them distracting but feel afraid to voice concerns. Many teachers avoid confrontation, so some students have resorted to muffling their ears. What started as an effort to respect everyone's choice has created an environment where students who feel uncomfortable are now afraid to even speak up. DEI is being used in ways that prioritize certain groups while excluding others, she said. From Mrs. Kim's perspective, flurries and gender identity are a choice that people make. She respects that choice, but with that comes responsibility to take care for others. Replacing one form of discrimination with another would never lead to a fair and just society, she said. So a culture has been created in our school that divides and excludes based on identity. A student can be Jack one day and Jill the next. Students can identify as cats, wear tails, and meow. Students have trouble learning and resort to muffling their ears to block out the noise. An environment exists where students are afraid to speak out, and many teachers avoid confrontation for fear of backlash. So my question to the board is this: the Board of Education exists to educate our children, to ensure an environment conducive to learning, and an environment where students and teachers are not afraid to voice concerns. What policy changes will you make so this becomes a reality in the instances I just described? And please reply via email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak this evening? If no one else is wishing to speak, we will move on to the next item, which is our consent agenda for the evening. There are 3 items on tonight's consent agenda. First is the approval of minutes for the February 10th regular board meeting. Second is the approval of minutes for the February 10th closed session meeting. And then last is the approval of the Haslett Education Association labor agreement for the 25-26 calendar year. Would any member like any of these items on the consent agenda pulled for the evening? Seeing no, I will take a motion regarding this evening's consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda for this evening. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The consent agenda for this evening is adopted. Now, at the request of Superintendent Malley, the board, he's asked the board to go into closed session for the purpose of conducting the 24-25 mid-year evaluation pursuant to the provisions of the state's Open Meetings Act. So I will need a motion to go into closed session.
I move to go into closed session to conduct the superintendent's mid-year evaluation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to move into closed session. All those in favor will say aye.
Roll call.
Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, this is a roll call. This is a roll call vote. No, I don't.
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski.
Yes.
Vice President Collins.
Yes.
Trustee Fritz.
Yes.
And President Bird.
Yes.
Now you're done.
Thank you very much. So we are now in closed session. I don't even know if I need.